Alrighty, tidy, Mandy, we are into it. It's bank time. Exists map pick and a chance for them to redeem themselves.
I'm actually very excited for Bank. Bank is my favourite map in the map pool right now.
Really?
So, yeah, it is. I like Bank. Skyscraper is no longer my friend. I'm really frustrated watching Skyscraper recently. It's really hard to play. So Bank is my new best friend. I like this map.
Well, what are you thinking about the bans we've seen so far? The Hibana has joined the Zero that we saw previously. IGZIST must be big Zero fans or something, because it's not every day you see that.
It does feel like a target ban. I don't know against who. I can only imagine it's against like V-Board or some special like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the main thing on this map is like Hibana being banned out means that opening hatches you have to bring tin can openers. So that's probably like one less set of flashbangs pretty much for you to execute, right? Not just that, of course Zero is one of those operators that does have tin can openers, so you basically have to bring Buck. Or is it Capitao as well? I've completely lost it. It is Capitao, isn't it? Capitao and Buck. I've got it.
Capitao have can openers. Buck does as well. I'm trying to remember who else does, because there are
in
there.
Yeah, no. Question mark. King, right?
King's got him. Monty's got him.
Yeah.
A lot of strange can opener operators.
There are. And I think on the side of the defense, of course, you've got Fenrir out. But I think that with the Hibana ban out, taking out Cade's probably a good idea as well. You don't want to cause yourself more trouble getting hatches open and getting walls open. So I think a good idea. Yeah, I think that going down to this basement is also a good idea for the bans that have come out as well for Crest, because you don't have Hibana on the board. You're going to be forcing IGZIST to only bring 2 sets of tin can openers, so getting the floor open is going to be a challenge, getting those hatches open, but it seems like IGZIST have sort of the right lineup to deal with it.
Yeah, look, I rate a lot of the setup from the defense, albeit it is quite strange, admittedly. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways you can play Bank, both on the attack and the defense. And I love to see this Valkyrie. I hope that we get to see a lot of very proactive, aggressive plays from the defensive side, as we saw from IGZIST on map number 1. Looks like Eclair is very worried about an early garage pick.
Me too. I think Valkyrie is going to be one of those defenders that's a must pick on Bank. There are so many places that you can hide those Valkyrie cameras, and it's going to cost the attack to bring like a whole other operator like in the IQ to actually try and deal with it. You don't really have the space on the attacking lineup at the moment. So what they're going for right now is a more roam clear centric type thing. They are going to enable Verbort to get into this top floor. Of course, there's a Dokubi in hand as well for when they try and translate that roam clear down into the ground floor.
For me, the big question is going to be time here. How are IGZIST going for time? Looks like they're worried about these roamers on the ground floor. There is one in admin at the moment. Actually, it looks like quite a few still persisting. Still
3.
one as well in the E1 hatch as well. But these castle barricades are making this roam quite safe.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like you're saying, for Crest, they have a lot of potential fall-off routes at the moment that are enabled by those castle barricades, preventing the attackers from being able to cut off Lua, whose fall-off route has actually been cut off with that gun 6 going off, so I think he's got to fall down the hatch if he wants to get away with his life. Meanwhile, the 2 players inside of open safe for a little while. They have a pretty good fall-off route as well with their own hatch that cannot be played through vertical.
For IGZIST, though, how much progress have they made ticking off the tick boxes that you need to prepare for an execute? There's good map control taken, yes, but still a lot of hatches remain reinforced. Still a lot of plant denial remains for the defense, not only the C4 from Eclair, but don't forget that those impacts from Shironaka can also be used to deny the plant if placed correctly. Not to mention, of course, 3 smokes in Whiskey's pocket, so this is going to have to be expedited here, this phase 2 of this attack.
I wonder what IGZIST are going to go for, because they don't have Thermite. They can't really open the server wall and make it reliable, right? With the lineup that they've decided to bring, I can only imagine that they might actually go for a flood here. That's a very like IGZIST thing to do, don't you think so? With 30 seconds left to do it, it kind of looks like they're going to try it.
I mean, this would have to be a nutty flood, because there's also the Goyos, which I forgot about when I was thinking of plant denial. So yeah, wall is soft and has now been taken out by the Buck, so credit to them. That was very nice. Of course, they were the ones who banned the Hibana, so it does rely on them to bring the hard breach to replace it. But here comes the final flood. 15 seconds, and this will need to be insane. But of course, the smoke... Oh, he's been traded! That makes this possible here. If there's a way that IGZIST can get that plant down, a C4 tossed over, doesn't detonate, and still this plant is being forced down, forfeiting several players. IGZIST managed to get that diffuser stuck. at the cost of a body or two, but now it is a desperate retake for Crest, and unfortunately, Cyrenaico is not going to be able to achieve anything. Lewis spots the angle, but cannot tap the head. A 1v4 is an impossible task as the attackers have now become the defenders, flooded the site, and locked out this attack. What an unreal last-minute attack from IGZIST.
That was great work. I think you pointed it out exactly right. As soon as that smoke went down to a player dropping through the hatch, that was the real pivotal point in that execute that came through from IGZIST, right? Like you said, he can no longer deny the plant by throwing out any of those smokes, and the last one that he threw out was only just short of where Marvi was getting that plant down, right? Marvi found a blind spot in that smoke and realized, hang on, I can get this bomb down here with the cover of my own smoke and not get killed out from the toxic babe that was sent out a little bit earlier, right? So as soon as the smoke went down, there's no more redundancy in that plant denial, just like you said, and they were able to get it down in tandem with the flood and then claim the round.
We already knew that the stage was set for this to be a very challenging map for Crest, right? This is one of IGZIST's best. They, of course, picked it here, and Crest are on a 4-game losing streak on this map. So, where does that sit them? Of course, they got to choose which side they start, so they went for the defense, which, as you have put, is favored on most maps, if not every single map, and definitely in this series so far. Chile is one of the few attacker-sided maps in the pool, and yet Crest still managed to win 5 defenses in their half. But the fact that they've already lost the first defense, that doesn't give me a lot of hope, Mandy.
Yeah, look, it's round 1. You can't call it too early, can you? But yeah, like you said, it should have been a little clearer than that, I think. IGZIST really had to press the attack to actually make that execute work, and so to me, it's like completely on them, like good on them for making that execute work in the last few seconds around that. That was, to me, just purely IGZIST having a good plan and playing it well, rather than Crest not playing it bad, to be honest. But we're going to change bomb sites anyway. They don't want to reattempt that because they think that IGZIST have got a pretty good read on how to attack that one now, so we're going to go over into open instead.
And the Azami here makes for some insane power positions, which in the late round can prove very difficult to clear out. Often we don't even get to a position where the attack is able to clear out that power position because they've spent the rest of the round clearing the rest of the map. For example, upstairs here in CEO office, RB does spot one player. Show who that was inside of Janitor Closet. They've got some great angles. These pre-prepared barricades downstairs preventing any late flanks. I quite like that, but Sifty has snuck his Brava drone up through them.
There is a Candela going off now for Marvi in that top floor, and so I can only imagine that he's trying to enable some of his players to get in, although Cyrenaico is going to take down Rera. That was one of the players actually trying to execute in on that top floor, and Salty is at least going to be able to claim one back.
Salty is already in Janitor Closet. Cyrenaico is hiding in airlock at the moment. We're in lounge for now. This engagement could mean a whole lot. If Cyrenaico is able to find the kill and persist, it would mean so much, and indeed he does. Is there a trade on back? The Ying has jumped on in. Cyrenaico looking for the fight. The Ying sees him first and lands the shot. A C4 almost trades it on back, but Marvi manages to survive to fight another day and is now looking for that player inside Archives.
Yeah, I think Lewis trapped himself, unfortunately. With that C4 going off, he is now stuck behind this one little rack. I think there is a player on the other side, though, just on the top blue, trying to enable himself to go in for that pinch. He does know that that player is stuck there, so Lewis pretty isolated from his teammates right now.
Ooh, Choppy's about to find a 1v1. He might not realize it, but V-Bort's just on the other side of this door frame. Choppy has heard something. That breach going out. Oh, what a wall bang from Choppy. V-Bort's gone down, and Crest have well and truly salvaged this round. It looked a bit dicey there for a moment, but the roam had enough of an impact that Marvi is not even in a close position to look for an execute. Low HP, thanks to the earlier C4, a 1v3. 25 seconds is just not enough to make this happen.
Yeah, that was a great job from Lua there. He was in such a tough spot where he was, but he actually won that 1 versus 1 on the player that was coming out to pinch him. There's info for Marvi, but really not a lot of time. With only 10 seconds left, there's no way he's going to get all 3 kills or get the diffuser into the bomb site, so not looking too good for IGZIST, and Crest hold on.
Marvi just looked for a consolation frag, but was not able to find it in the end. And Crest, there you go. Their first defense has been locked in. Credit to them. It was a pretty nice one as well, Mandy. It really came down to quite a proficient roam game, both down in Teller's Archives, but also on the top floor. I can't remember which player it was, but the Legion, even though he was only able to find, what, 1 or 2 kills before being taken down, it was well worth it. It was a massive time soak for IGZIST, and a resource soak as well. once again, IGZIST just struggle when it comes to doing the kind of normal stuff. Like, they're really great at a lot of the really exciting, explosive attacks, but when it comes to just the normal, methodical stuff, IGZIST really just do not have it on lock.
It was a good try, to be honest, I think, from IGZIST. I feel like that round could have gone either way, depending on how the roam clear went. Like, they definitely made an attempt of what I would consider a mini execute onto that top floor, right? They tried to use the Ying to enable the entries to come through and then clear out Janitor and then clear out Lounge. Like, that is typically how you try and clear out that top floor anyway. But it, like you said, it was really on the onus of those roamers to actually win out those gunfights and those 1v1s. Sireneko in particular on the Legion, like you said, getting his 2 pivotal kills was really what turned the tide of that round. So even though IGZIST made an attempt to solve that problem, they couldn't quite land the shots to execute it.
I'm going to speculate a bit here, Mandy. Crest have now 2 games in a row banned this 0, which is a very unusual ban, not a highly picked operator even when left in. Right? But IGZIST, they struggled there when it came to just re-droning, getting that extra information. They didn't check where the Legion was, and as a result, came down to a 1v1 where they were unfavored. If they had that 0 on the board, they would likely be using that to just chuck one in the middle of CEO, check it's clear, okay, cool, we can jump in. You're not going to be losing 1v1s to players like that Legion last round. And so I think
that's a really good point.
I think it's been a great read from Crest.
Yeah, I actually think so as well. Not just that, but like Zero is one of those operators that's excellent on this map too. Like, not only does he have the Zero cams that you can put through the wall and then face both ways, there are a lot of soft walls on this map where you want to check both sides, right? But he's also got a hard breach charge as well, which takes away like one of your opening tools to get inside of the map, essentially, right? So I think, like you said, it's actually a really good read from Crest, and then going into Bank as well, it really works in their favor.
Indeed. Well, we've seen this before, haven't we, Mandy? The top floor, full map clear for IGZIST on this very extended roam enabled by the castle barricades. The idea here for Crest, as we saw last time they played this, is just to time soak as much as possible. But I really like this idea from it's Marvi actually, using one of those very precious and limited hard breach charges to cover this E1 hallway. And you can see the pinch now with the castle being taken down on the elevator hallway. 4 players have retreated back to site. Where is the 5th?
Oh, I think in garage, right? That's a clear.
Oh, okay. So
okay,
all 5
we can't quite see him, but yeah, all 5 players are back down inside of the basement. The next step for IGZIST is going to be to convert from that mid round into the execute phase. Last time, they did a great job, actually, and going for both a plant and a flood sort of at the same time in tandem to take down the smoke and yada-yada. It really went in their favor. But this time around, I can only imagine that Crest are going to be a little bit more cautious. There's a player on blue stairs actually holding resistance. The smoke is going to be up here, nice and early, rather being down on the bomb site.
Doesn't have any cash to protect him though, and he's not Warden, so he could easily be flashed out. That said, there are no flashes on this lineup. Have a look. The Dokkaebi could have brought them, but opted for smokes instead. Now a smoke is actually being used somewhere. In comes a nade, but Whiskey is ready once again. No more gas phase, but goes for the pick, finds Sifty, but a beautiful push in from bot blue. 2 players from IGZIST managed to ensure that refrag is confirmed.
Such little time though, and they still have 2 C4s to worry about as well for IGZIST. It's going to be very dicey in the execute.
They will have to rely on this plant denial, but are they in positions to do so? Shiraneko takes down Salty. This will need to be desperate from IGZIST, and VBoard has the diffuser in pocket. Rare has found one, but VBoard on the plant. He's been downed, and that means this round is over. There's no way that Marvi will be able to stick this. He will try his damn best, but it's a fake, unfortunately. He knew that he was a dead man walking. Crest managed to get that defense just across the line.
I actually really think the turning point in that round for Crest was deciding to put Whiskey on blue stairs. Remember, the criticism that we're giving to IGZIST is that they're really slow, right? Like, they take a long time to get through that early round to mid round. They don't quite have the tools that they need to solve the problems that are in front of them. And I think Whiskey, even though he was unprotected, like he didn't have any ADSs, like you pointed out, there was no Lamais, he's also not Warden, just by being there through the mid round and by wasting so much time, by the time it comes for the execute, all of his anchors are feeling real safe and real comfortable, knowing that IGZIST are panicking in the chaos of that execute to come through, right? So to me, I think that was the big decision, that they needed to change the strategy and actually close out a basement defense for the second attempt.
Credit to them. That's 2 defenses in a row, Mandy. Now, on map 1, in the second half, it was Crest on the defense. IGZIST won the first rounds And then Crest managed to win 5 in a row.
Uh-oh.
Surely we won't see that repeat here.
I hope not.
Yeah, for IGZIST especially, they started so well on map 1. They had a 5-2 lead. They bottled it to a 7-5 loss. And Crest, now looking at them, they are very much a different beast to what we saw in the first half of that first map. They lost 2 flawless rounds and 2 1v1s, and now they are back in this, looking a lot more in control. I think they've got a great read onto this slow playstyle that you have been talking about from IGZIST, but that is going to expedite the round, that's for sure.
Huh, interesting from Sireneko. Here you are, praising them for like being, you know, holding on to the bomb site and playing the anchor and yada-da, and then they jump out of the top square window instead. Okay, Sireneko, that's okay. He's feeling confident in this round. Meanwhile, the rest of his players, they are going to hold on to that bomb site as much as they can, right? We're leaning into that castle setup with the Echo for plant denial. Not just that, but the mute then to deny these walls from being opened as well. So they're really bunkering down here inside of this top floor. It doesn't look like they're actually trying to play out early. They're just waiting for IGZIST to take their time to eventually get in.
Thing is, this bomb site is a very different story to the bottom floor, right? We're going to see our executive for the first time. And this is not a bomb site where you can play like a peel back defense. There's not a lot to peel back, right? Because top square, you simply cannot hard hold. That's free real estate for the attackers. And then CO is just the next room along. So you can try and extend into stock, for example, or roam below, but there's not really a lot of map control that IGZIST have to take.
That's a very good point to make as well. The architecture of this bomb site is so different. So what we've just seen is we're on board with Sifty for a little bit, who is on that Zofia and is going to be able to use that range soft breach to clear out those castle barricades and put pressure onto the bomb site. That's a really important part here. There's no Jaeger, there's no Wamai to be able to protect this. Just as I say it, this observer, I swear he can hear us, even though I know he can't, right? But this is exactly the problem, like you say, with that setup. It can be cut down. The architecture of it does actually lean itself in towards that attack. That mute Jaramo as well on the Kanto ward's being cleared. Chiopi is going to contest it. Scary for him. Oh, but that C4 to go out is a little early into the board. Okay, apparently it isn't. He actually repelled into it.
Wow, okay. Well, this is just IGZIST being classic IGZIST after all. Attempting a plant on the back of some cheeky plays, but no Candelas to follow up. There's no Ying on the board. It was the Osa that was trying to be utilized to enable that aggressive push, and unfortunately, like you said, that C4 landing its mark has really just quelled this IGZIST push.
It is very much disconnected now. The bomb is coiled in the middle of the bomb site. They have to retrieve it. Sifty's going to try and enable this by opening up Janitor and then having some loose player entry in. But it's going to be tough against a shotgun.
Oh,
okay,
no!
never mind. Rara can land that shot.
With that, it's flipped on its head once again. IGZIST have a chance back into this, but not if Eclair's got anything to say about it. The trade comes through thick and fast, and Rara closes it with the DMR for the final kill. IGZIST have stemmed the bleeding here, Mandy. It was a bit dicey there on the flick as well. But 2-2 is the scoreline.
That's not bad, honestly. That is not terrible for IGZIST going in. Remember, it is a defender's game so far this series, and I think getting 2 attacks on the board, that's all that Crest needed in that last series. That is literally all that Crest needed to actually be able to close it out. I don't know how much difference going to be in this series, but, you know, it's not bad. I don't mind the ideas that IGZIST are bringing there. I liked that they were actually utilizing, like fully utilizing all the utility that they had brought along with them to actually open up that entire top floor. You called it straight away, Dev, like through that mid-round, that the top floor architecture was so different, and it was leaning itself into the way that IGZIST were attacking it as well, right? The only scary part was, of course, Reward entering in with their Ossa just like a little bit too early, right? That almost cost them the round, but they actually managed to bring it back and close it out.
Yeah, well, for Crest now, despite losing one basement attack, one Locker's defense rather, and one top floor defense, they can now go back to what has been their most successful site statistically now, which is the open area staff room bomb site. And the story of this, man, really was like we were talking about just a couple rounds ago, the roam game. Like the top floor roam game did just enough, and then you combine that with the Teller's Archives roam game. It was just enough that we actually never got to the point where IGZIST was even looking at the site for an execute.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the thing that scares me Crest is that, yes, that top floor roam did work in their favor last time, but it feels rather 50-50, right? I liked the ideas that IGZIST were bringing to do that mini execute onto that top floor. They just didn't quite land it, right? They didn't quite land the execute that they needed to do. And so I think that this time come around, they are going to change up these like little tiny optimizations to try and make this roam killer a little bit more successful, and hopefully they're able to get it around this time.
They have a better read now, you'd think, on where the defenders will be playing based on what they did last time. Looks like there's quite a drastic change here from IGZIST. Sifty is looking to drone that position on site, but unfortunately that's a very early lost Brava drone. Doesn't really gain much for it. Smoke is quite peculiar as well. It also looks like, meanwhile, Marvy's looking to take top floor control, but Whiskey is once again holding inside of Janitor Closet, and Choppy is able to find the first kill on Terrera. I don't even know where that was. Yeah,
from the ground floor. So I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to cut the roam game in half, right? Send people in through the ground floor before you clear out the top floor in hopes that the roamers fall back into the attackers that are already on the ground floor, right? But unfortunately, Rera actually got taken down in that 1v1 with Choppy, but there's so much info on him, surely they can land it.
B-Bort's in the perfect position to do so, but he's worried about getting swung from the elevator hallway. Knows there's a player just around that corner. IGZIST have the information, they just don't have the position to take that final shot.
It's tough now. Labor can't progress any more forwards because there is a rotate there covering him, but thankfully Salty is able to eventually land that kill, so the pinch does work in their favor. Not just that, but the entire top floor has been forfeited by the defense as well. Everyone has either come back to the bomb site or gone back down into the basement where it is safe. So far, IGZIST have actually done an okay job through the early rounds, but with only 50 seconds left to go, this is where we get scared for IGZIST.
Oh, it was a bit dicey, but at the end of the day, they got what they wanted, right? But yes, you're right. The time is very much on Crest's side. Where will the breaches come through? That's my question for Crest, right? You've got 2 high breach charges on the Ying. You've got 1 Selma left on the Ace. You need to start opening some avenues into the site, clearing out these power positions that the Azami has fortified. But instead, it looks like they're going for something explosive.
Yep, they're going to make their way in through Printer. The Candela will ring true as Marvy is able to make his way in.
Yeah, but the plant, oh, it's been denied. Oh, Sifty with a team kill onto Marvy. That is devastating. Sifty is, however, the last one left and not able to get that diffuser down. It looks like Crest have once again weathered the storm on the final execute. You said it, there was simply not enough time for IGZIST to get it done. Crest have once again locked in that open area staff room defense and retaken the lead.
That is always the scary part of the round for IGZIST, right? You watch them go through the early round to mid round, and it's like, yeah, okay, you know, not a bad idea. The roam clear that they had going, it was a bit scary, but they made it work. Their idea worked. But then by the time they try and translate that from the mid round to the late round, there's a massive disconnect there, right? And because of how little time they feel so pressed to make a decision that it's not always the most calculated one. And Crest simply fall back to the bomb site. I was looking at the anchor setup that they had on the bomb site, and I was like, there is 4 players inside of open area. They are so claustrophobic right now. But because they know that IGZIST are in such chaos, they're in such a hurry, they make it work anyway with the manpower. And I think, unfortunately, the team kill was really what set the nail in the head for me, right? Not having enough manpower to go for that flood with the Ying that they were trying to do, because that came through, meant that the man advantage was so in favor of Crest that they just wanted out.
I mean, team kill's never nice, right? But that is a absolutely critical mistake for IGZIST, and that really was the moment where that round became unwinnable. Have a look at all these Vulcan canisters. There's 3 of them, all placed
cool if you're IGZIST.
in plant-and-all positions, right? Like, each one of those is 20 seconds. So if you're IGZIST, you need to clear those, all of them, 20 seconds before you want to start planting, or you need to go for a flood, and that hasn't really worked out. It looks like there's something being teased here in Dirt Tunnel with the blitz from Salty.
Interesting. I think they kind of know, though. Like, okay, so Clara is on a yokai drone at the moment. Surely one of these yokai drones is it. Yeah, they totally know. There's a mirror facing it as well. So they've seen that Salty has got server pressure at the moment. I think that Crest don't really need to overextend to try and deal with this, right? They've got a mirror facing this, got info, it's fine. Just hold on to this roam. So it's not going to force Crest to fall back just yet.
So much information available for the defense with the yokais, the mirror windows. You couldn't ask for a better operator lineup really on this bomb site with the way that IGZIST have been playing. so much map control as well held on to as this extended roam continues. Shiraneko in open area, but who's that? It's Choppy. Intellis finds the open onto Rara. That is devastating now. IGZIST need to find the refrag, but he found a second kill onto Marvi, and Lua has been able to trade back V-Bort as well. That is utter devastation for IGZIST as Crest have a 4 versus 2 numbers advantage. IGZIST, all they rely on now is a Blitz and a Dokkaebi with no hard breach to speak of, and they will be pushing into one of the most horrendously powerful operator lineups available on the defense.
It is actually ridiculous how well Crest had played that with the info game of Eclair, right? Like, we were on board with Choppy, who was able to get that kill there. You look on his screen, and you can see yellow pings going out on, like, both players on either side of that pinch that was coming through, right? So, IGZIST don't know it, but Crest know exactly what they were going for there, right? So Choppy, even though he dies with his life, he is able to make some great value out of that roam that happens. Not just that, but Shiraneko's like, all right, I'm a peace out now, right? So everything has gone well here for Crest because they had so much more info than existed. They were so many more steps ahead.
One minor shining light here for IGZIST is that the dead players can now spec their yokai drones and call exactly what info they have available. Time delay once again. These positions are so good. There's still a C4, and there you go. The last Vulcan canister detonated. That is very nasty now. That is going to ring out until there's about 6 seconds left on the clock. And have a look at this. We actually have a flank as well from Lua up above. There's not much for it here for IGZIST. The flank may be taken down. Running through the smoke now, through the fire as well. Salty getting aggressive, but he's taken down. And it is merely a formality now for Sifty to simply drop to his demise. Whiskey puts the closing kill on the lid on the round as well. It's a 4-2 half for Crest on their defense here on Bank.
Great job there for Crest once again to hold out through the late round, knowing that they'd gotten value out of that roam game that was going on, and just playing the patience game as the remaining 2 players of IGZIST try and make their way into the bomb site, but of course, into that setup, that wasn't going to happen, right? So once again, Crest really doing a great job leaning into that anchor setups, the velocities that they're bringing here against a very slow IGZIST. But now we're going on to IGZIST defense, Dev, and it makes me feel a little nervous, right? This entire series has been the game of the defenders, and now that IGZIST is doing this, I feel like we can't quite count them out just yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. We saw an insane 5-round-in-a-row comeback from Crest on map 1. And so it's hard to discount IGZIST here on map 2. But it does appear to be a very similar strategy adopted by the defense. We know how effective this can be with the Goyo, the smoke, and some C4s to boot. It's so challenging to force a plant down. You need to have like a minute left on the clock before you go for that execute if you want to go for a passive plant, focused execute. Otherwise, you need to really mount up and go for something nuts. Going deep into the bomb site. I will say for Crest, I love the Twitch pick here. Underrated and something we didn't see much from IGZIST, but it's one of the best counters to the Goyo.
Oh yeah, I hadn't considered that. Yeah, special drone squad. We love these guys. So yeah, like you're saying, yeah, this is exciting. Like you're saying, yes, it is a way of dealing with what is left on the bomb site. For the defense, there is a lot that they can bring, but at least right now for the attack, there is like a one-to-one solution to the problems that they are going to face when it comes to the late round. But that's not what we need to focus on right now. It's in the early round. It's the roam clear that's going to be on for Crest. It does look like they are going to try and do it. Lots of drones being sent out, not just through the top floor, but even inside of lobby to try and put that pressure on the ground floor nice and early too. But Crest have got some pretty safe, IGZIST have got some pretty safe fall-off options here.
Yeah, I haven't quite figured out where Crest are looking to take map control first. I think they're trying to identify how much of roam is present. Now they do have Lua in top floor and ready to start putting some pressure on open area. As we can see, this hatch is reinforced in admin. Marvi able to drop down at the drop of a hat should you feel a little bit too much pressure on the site. Does appear to be that the rest of the players from IGZIST are down on the site. Yeah, so you got 1 player in garage, 3 on site. It is only Rara still on this roam. And as I say that, he drops down the elevator hatch as well. So a minute 30, Mandy. And IGZIST have fully forfeited map control.
I'm still scared. There's a lot to clear, right? A minute 30, it feels like a lot of time, but it's not. Not against this lineup. You have all of the smokes 3 smoke canisters to burn out from before. Not just that, you have 2 C4s that you need to bait out, and 2 Goyle canisters that haven't been cleared. Okay, now they're being cleared. Oh, just like you said, the Twitch trying to clear it early. Okay, so that's 40 seconds now that they have managed to cut down on that plant denial. Now the only things they have to worry about is the smoke canisters. One is in the hands of a Vought right now. With 50 seconds left to do it, it's possible, but it's very hard.
Well, you've essentially got 30 seconds worth of smoke denial, 2 C4s and 2 impacts. Not to mention getting aggressive for the defense, but they go for the plant very early. This is beautiful from Eclair. Oh, C4 misses, actually. Very dangerous there for the defense, but fortunately, the attack is not able to secure a plant. Where is the plant denial? There was 30 seconds left on the clock, 3 gas canisters in pocket, and 2 C4s as well, none of which were able to deny the plant for IGZIST. This is an utter embarrassment for the defense, and they will have to retake, but Lure is there with the skeleton key to lock down this flank opportunity. Sifty has managed to refrag, but there's still more ready to go. Oh, how unfortunate. What do IGZIST do here? A 3v4, and there is simply no time in the world that could make this flank possible. Choppy to lock it down, Salty on site with Rara. But CGL have done the impossible. They have planted with a world, a fortress of plant denial available. And they win what should never have been the salvageable rounds.
IGZIST really dropped the ball there, like you called out in that execute phase as it came through, right? Like you said, there was 2 smoke canisters left for board. There was info as well, because the pulse was calling, that plant is going down, but none of the plant denial came through. And it was super well played from Eclair, actually, who was the thermite that was planting the bomb. He attempted the plant, baited the first set of plant denial, went for that second attempt at the plant, and actually realized that he could stick it because they weren't dealing with it. So great composure from Eclair to be able to get that bomb down. But yes, it really was on the onus of IGZIST there. Like you pointed out, that Twitch drone dealt with the Goyo canisters super early on, so that was half of that plant denial that had been cut away, and eventually Eclair playing that really well, managed to get the bomb down. IGZIST just really struggling, and now taking that tactical timeout, I think is a great time to do it, because it really looks like they've lost their composure on the defense.
As much as it really appears like IGZIST dropped the ball there, and it is true, they had way too much plant denial to let a plant go down, I just want to credit Crest for doing a lot of things right. You already mentioned the Twitch countering the Goyo. The smoke wasn't really actively countered, but one thing that occurs to me is I saw when the first plant was being forced down, there was a Yana, like a Gemini, running straight into sight. It jumped over the main desk where you would usually lob a C4 or gas, and I actually wonder whether the idea for that Gemini is, but most people don't realize, but Geminis actually do have collision, right? So you can't sprint through a Gemini, despite it being a hologram. You can't throw a C4 through a Gemini. Now this is a bit of a stretch, but I wonder if the idea behind forcing that Gemini through is to try and bounce the C4 back at the defenders. It sounds crazy, but in a way it worked, right? Like the Pulse had his C4 prepped, and it actually bounced off the Gemini as he was peeking gold and landed on the wall banister instead of denying that plan. I don't know if I don't know if that's a coincidence or the most 10,000 IQ thing I've ever seen, but I'm all here for it.
I'm going to put it a little more down to coincidence than 10,000 IQ, to be honest. But yeah, I think that's definitely like the main thing, the main takeaway from the point that you're trying to make is that what you want to do is that if you can't deal with all the plant denial, you at least want to like distract the plant denial, right? Like you want to be able to put the pulse in a spot where like, do you get on the pulse scanner or do you whip out your C4? That's like the main thing. Or do you whip out your gun because someone's dropping red and trying to kill you? That's like the main thing if you're that pulse player inside of gold, right? You want to protect yourself while giving that info, and then at some point you need to get off that intro so you can be part of the plant denial. That's like the main challenge of playing the pulse in that position, right? So like you're saying, yes, even though that clone might have accidentally bounced the C4 off, I think the main thing is like forcing the pulse to get off the scanner and like deal with it, right? That's like, I think that's the big thing. Same thing with smoke as well. If you put pressure from where the smoke is trying to do the lineup, like send someone down main stairs, like shoot open the wall or whatever, that can really frazzle that player from actually being able to land that plant denial.
Yeah, Crest really demonstrated that it doesn't take much for a very well thought out setup to go wrong for the defense. And amidst the chaos, it only takes 7 seconds to get that plant down. Now let's see what Crest do on this next attack. Once again, they've brought the perfect tools to deal with the setup. I don't know whether they saw that there was a Valkyrie and an Echo on the board, but they brought the perfect counter in this IQ and are now using it to methodically check where these are, And speaking methodical, that is just principled there from Crest. 2 early picks onto overextended positions from the defense. This is nigh impossible to come back from for IGZIST. They will have to make some serious plays to bring this round back.
You called that exactly right. Crest are playing the cautious game now. They seem to have droned out this setup extremely well. Like you're saying, they immediately deny the 2 info operators in the Valkyrie and the Echo, and then all of a sudden, taking down those roamers from barely even being inside of the building depth. Only now are they getting inside of the building. They didn't even need to be in it to get those opening kills, and as a result, the rest of IGZIST have got to fall back. Salty is going to try and look for a play to claw back the man advantage. Actually, so Sifty.
Yeah, this is absolutely worth it though. Sifty needs to guarantee this kill, needs to bring the man advantage back. He did find that pick, but unfortunately elsewhere, his teammate has fallen. He knows he needs to overpeak this, but perfectly timed with V-Bot. Both of the remaining defenders teaming up together, and now IGZIST fall to pieces. Crest took that opportunity. They said, hang on, both players are over there. We can drop the site, and Lua did not waste a minute. Dropping down, Crest have now taken, get this, match points.
That is some great calling from Crest. I think the IGL Crest is the clear, so I think all credit to him. He is absolutely calling this early to mid-round perfectly at the moment for them. Like you said, the timing that they managed to find on that execute in tandem with the main stairs push coming through, they anticipated that aggression to come through from IGZIST as they were down in the man advantage and get that pinch off in the execute phase. Closing out the round, and now we're at like a serious match point there. Like, this isn't close like it was on Chalet. This isn't like the defense is good and it's scary. It's just like IGZIST really struggling on this defense because Crest are playing really well.
Yeah, they really are. And funnily enough, Mandy, like we've talked about the series being so defensive favored, you know, Bank is the one map globally right now that stands apart from the rest in terms of attacker-sidedness. Every map in the pool right now is attacker-sided, defender-sided, except for Chalet, which is 55% attacker-sided. So Crest really are just showing that they have been studying all the other regions. They've really been practicing and scrimming and dry running these attacks with the intent to be an attacker-sided team on this map. And you add to the fact that they had such powerful defenses, this is hell in a cell for IGZIST. 4 rounds in a row will be needed to force overtime. And of course, after losing map 1, despite their advantage, IGZIST are now well and truly on the ropes.
Here we go. This is potentially the final round here for Crest on their attack, and they're actually going for a rather interesting attack here, Dev. It doesn't look like they're going to fully roam clear the entire map. It looks like they're just going to segment off this attack over onto this server side of the map, and they're just going to use that Nomad to cut off any of the retake that is going to come through. So it's really going to be here on Whiskey to do his job here in the top 2 floors, make sure that his teammates are safe as they go for this seriously early execute.
45 seconds into the round, the main breach onto site, the plant position has been completely opened up. At least 2 Vulcan canisters have been detonated. That saves you 40 seconds. And a Smoke Babe Waster, that's another 10 seconds. This is unbelievable time management from Crest. They are putting IGZIST under the pump, making them anxious that this is going to be a rush.
Okay, the next 2 problems they have to solve is 2 more smoke canisters, and someone's got to shoot out that yokai whenever it comes through. But the main problem with the yokai for Salty is he's got to get it hit right. If you put the yokai sonic boom on an Ossa shield, it doesn't actually cancel the plant because it blocks it, right? So they've got to be very, very careful when they go for this plant to null.
A credit to the defense. Rary used both of his impacts to destroy that Ossa shield, but there is a second one that can be moved now. Sereneko low HP, a very deep smoke lands perfectly. Claire is not able to plant for now. Sereneko so low HP, this is the danger, and Marvy gets aggressive! Finding one pick, Sifty as well, but the trade comes through. This is exactly what IGZIST need when they're under the pump, but Rayra, meanwhile, overextends into the smoke deployed by his teammate. This is salvageable for Crest. They need to pick up their fallen teammate and look to threaten a plant once again.
No, I reckon this is so winnable for IGZIST here. They really need this round on the board. It is essentially a 3-on-2 at the moment. Okay, it's about to become a 3-on-3, but 2 players are so low on HP at the moment. There's not a lot of time. There's still that yokai drone up. They just need to land this plant so that in the dying seconds.
The Oryx is upstairs in top square.
Even better.
And Choppy now has to deal with this. The beepers go off, and if Choppy doesn't win this fight, There's no way that Crest win the round. Looks like IGZIST might be able to start this comeback right here as the flashes go off. Lua goes deep. Sifty's taking down Cyrenaico. It is all up to Choppy now, going deep in the site. No diffuser to speak of, and he has to win this close range fight against the Shoddy. But IGZIST weather the storm. They will keep this game alive. They have found their first rounds in this half, and the dream still remains.
Yeah, and thank goodness for that from IGZIST. The turning point of that round, to me, was the decision in the mid-round to go for the retake off the back of the smoke that we brought through, right? Marvi going, okay guys, there's a lot of time for the attack to burn out the rest of our plant denial. We need to make something happen so that that doesn't, you know, so that eventually they don't get the plant down. And so him, along with one of his teammates, to eventually get their way back into the server, find the pivotal picks that they needed. Not just that, but Whiskey going down in the top floor as well, allowing the retakes come through from the Oryx was the medicine that IGZIST needed in that direct push that Crest were trying to go for, right? So some great mid-round decision making has allowed them yet another round win and to keep the dream alive, like you're saying.
Yeah, wow. That was a fantastic play from IGZIST, but by such a narrow margin did they get that round across the line, Mandy. It really felt like Crest had done everything right. I think their read, their macro in the early round was perfect. Going to threaten that fast push and put this pressure on the Roamers was a great idea. And it really did take a lot for IGZIST to bring that one back to the realm of possibility, which is where this game does still yet lie. Would have to be a huge comeback for IGZIST to push OT and push to a third map from here. But it is possible.
It is certainly within the realm of possibility. I would not count IGZIST out just yet, even though they're on match point. I wonder what Crest are going for here. They have brought along the Monty on Whiskey. That's special. I wonder why they're doing something special in potentially the final round here for the attack.
Is it maybe a lobby push? You see the Monty push up the red stairs, banana, quite often. We haven't actually yet seen this top floor bomb site defended by IGZIST. They tried open area staff to no avail. This top floor bomb site was no good when Crest tried defending it. This is a really nice juggle though. Beautiful job from Rera though. Great read, the bandit to juggle Kanto. That's not something you see every day.
And only one wall is open now. So Lewis actually used all of his Selma charges to try and open this one wall. He does have the wall open. But it's like, it's kind of on the wrong side, right? Like, you want the wall open on the right side so you can actually cut off the hallway properly from the Kanto angle, right? So Whiskey is still going to make his way up the spiral stairs anyway. He's Monty, so he should be safe.
Big kill by the yokai here.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as well. I think the danger here is that he could be stunned out, right?
But there's actually a player already in Eclair, threatening to try and take down Salty. Rera is also coming together to try and put this pressure on Whiskey. Crest have lost a lot of players, but Eclair is deep in sight and has the opportunity. Fortunately for IGZIST, they know full well this position, thanks to the Yokais. Sifty may be dead now, but the Yokais are still up and alive. It's up to Whiskey now in a 1v3. Uh-oh. C4 bounces back off of him, and he survives a little bit longer, but about to be pressured once again by Salty. He will need to take some fights here with the pistol. He's already taken one. Taking a bit of HP damage for it. This would be a clutch of the ages, that's for sure. But it seems like a very risky business for Whiskey. Looking for this next fight. There's no reason to peek Salty, but he will anyway. And IGZIST, they might be on the comeback train here. 2 rounds on the trot. Mounting a comeback towards overtime.
Yeah, look, it's happening. That's all I'm saying. It is certainly happening. I would not count out IGZIST just yet. I think, though, for Crest, it was a good idea. It was unique. Idea. It forced IGZIST to think about what they needed to do there, but I think ultimately there were just small things in the round that didn't quite go that way to make a lobby-sided attack work there, right? I think the main thing was not being able to get the breach open, so they can't cut off the hallway. That means that there's definitely going to be a player sitting inside a stock, waiting for that top main push to come through. Not just that, but the picks that went out on North Rappel, that didn't work out for them either. The swing came in, but they were taken down. Not just that, but like you said, the Yokais actually stunned out Whiskey as he was coming up the spiral stairs too, so there was no one there to support him, and he got eventually taken down by the rest of the defenders, right? So, Crest, not a bad idea, it's innovative, but IGZIST had the tools they needed to deal with it.
I feel like Crest should probably not play so many risky strategies on the attack. It's always a hard game because it's what these teams in Japan League are really good at, playing those aggressive, execute heavy strategies where one tiny thing goes wrong and your entire push falls apart. but they're so hard to counter. They're so frustrating to play against. But it proved to be the death of IGZIST in the first map when they kept trying that on their attack. And Crest, we know they can do methodical pushes. But credit to IGZIST here, Mandy. Look at what they've done. They've gone and played Tellers and Archives. They've completely changed the strategy and brought out a bomb site choice that we have yet to see picked this game.
Interesting. I wonder what they're going for. They're also bringing the mirror as well, so I can only imagine them. Bot has used his mirrors to either extend out into the ground floor some more, or actually use it to play the vertical. I don't think there is on the vertical at all. Oh no, there is one, isn't there? There's one on Janitor. Okay, interesting. So I think that with the pulse in the hand as well, they should be able to make this vertical hold pretty good, to be honest. There's not a lot that Crest have got to deal with this mirror setup in that top floor. They've really just got the range hard reach of those Selmas, but they've really got to problem solve it if they want it.
And I will say that the traditional way, the classic way to play this bomb site as an attacking site is you get top floor control, open up the floor, you kill the players on site, and then you fall up and execute the plan. But have a look, there's like no real dedicated vertical operators on the attacking side. All you've got is the breaching charges from the Ace and the Ash. Instead, they're leveraging the Monty to see if they can force the map control, and that comes in the form of Whiskey at the top of the stairs. Now, Lua has gone down. That's your hard breach and your breaching charges. Meanwhile, V-Board has been dispatched with, and Crest have taken control of the top floor, so it may have been worth it.
Yeah, that's actually not bad from Crest at all. They really made that mini execute work onto the top floor. The pressure that came through on the main stairs and the spiral stairs and the repels all happened at exactly the same time, simultaneously. IGZIST couldn't quite deal with it as Vibort does go down, but the man advantage is not quite there yet for either team. It is still even. Salty still has that C4 pressure as well.
Scary thing here, if you're Cyrenaico, is that your job is to open up this floor, but there is actually a pulse down below with a shotgun. Is definitely favored in those fights. There's no way Rara loses that. He was primed and ready, but fortunately for Salty, the C4 lands its mark. Cyrenaico goes down. 3 players on the attack to find these last 3 defenders, only one of which is actually residing on the site. And that player is holding a shotgun. As I say that, he actually starts to move away. Peeking with the pistol now. This is a dangerous moment now for IGZIST.
The big thing is they can't open the main breach, right? They don't have hard breach anymore, so they have to funnel in through this door with the Monty, but they're being watched very carefully by the defense.
And that bulletproof camera has still managed to persist. Salty biding his time. He can shoot to the wall at yet a moment's notice. But the plant may be able to go down here. He's going to have to go around the shield. He does get the angle. And the trade has not come through yet from Eclair. Choppy as well elsewhere as the gate is re-enabled. Eclair goes deep, finds the criminal kill. It's all up to Salty in the 1 versus 1. Less than 10 seconds remain. And Choppy must force his way onto site. That diffuser is cold on the ground, but Salty holds with the shotgun in hand. He doesn't even need to peek. And IGZIST have kept this game alive once again. We are going all the way. They will not let this be settled here. Crest must do it once more.
Yeah, really well done from IGZIST there. I didn't quite anticipate just how good they had made of that ground floor work with the pulse as well. Not just that, but the Izami allowed them to hold on to the bomb site for way longer than they should have been able to, right? They were able to block up a lot of those holes from the vertical that was being made. Salty was so safe as the pulse to be able to deny the plant in a situation where, honestly, if that vertical pressure had come out good, he should not have been able to be in that position, right? So IGZIST doing a great job at holding on to the map where they could have, identifying the parts that were safe, even though it was scary as that vertical came through, and holding on to this round.
Wow, okay, well, basement is where IGZIST are essentially forced to go now. It is the only bomb site that they've won that is now unlocked, as CEO and Teller's Archives both locked. So they can't let up here. They've managed 3 rounds in a row. Only 1 more required to push overtime. For Crest, though, the pressure's got to be mounting. That's 3 missed match points that would have just sent this game home. Pushed IGZIST down into the 5th place match and booked a date with CAG for Crest. One last opportunity to get this done in regulation.
Alright, Crest, they look like they are going for this roam clear. I like the idea that Cyrenaico is going for at the moment. He's checking out the ground floor first, realizing, okay, roamers, they're on the top floor, but eventually they will fall off into the ground floor. So he's trying to get his way in there nice and early. There's actually 2 players waiting for him though. It's Rara and it's Marvy on the other side. Nice cutoff though from Whiskey. Is going to open up the round for Crest.
Well played there for Crest. Push the roamers back and cover their retreat. Rara has gone down, but Goyo utility will persist and be massively impactful in that late round. Crest try and force out a plant. In fact, it's likely Whiskey is hunting down those that's
great.
Goyo canisters now, and Cyrenaico has actually managed to take down Sifty. Was that through the hatch or watching the hatch drop, perhaps?
Yeah, it's because he got in early, right? It's what we were talking about early in the round. Cyrenaico had a drone that was actually inside of open area and actually saw... Okay, there is actually no roamers here in the ground floor. He can get in nice and early. Meanwhile, his teammates flush out the remaining roamers into him. So that's 2 roamers that have gone down now, both to cutoffs from Crest. Not just that, but Salty's lost... I think that's both of his yokais, right?
He still has one. He still has one, but it's not in a great position at the moment. He's going to have to reposition it for it to enable a flank or a plant denial. And this is really where things get dicey for IGZIST. 2 players down. They still have some utility to deny that plant, but there's no doubt that Whiskey on the Twitch drone has counted a lot of this util. And another pick once again for Choppy. This is incredibly dicey.
Bad for IGZIST. That is a serious man disadvantage now, as they can easily be flooded. With such a man disadvantage, one of them has got to make a play here. They can't just sit here and wait for that flood to come through, because there's so much time for the attack. Surely they're going to make it work, and this can be in conversion.
Still a player in Garage to hold on. Great detonation of the Vulcan canister, but Lua finds one. All up to Salty, blind, left with nobody to support him. Crest are on the verge of closing this game in the most dominant fashion possible. A 2-0 is all that's required for Crest to book a date with Cyclops. And an opportunity to go to their first major is on the other side of just 1 match for Crest Gaming.
What an incredible map as well from Crest. They just absolutely played Bank to perfection on both sides.